Narendra Modi making a very emotional speech in Parliament. We've got Shiv Vishwanathan, Veer Sanghavi, GVL Narasimha Rao, Madhu Kishwa joining us in our studios as we will now discuss Narendra Modi's speech after being elected as chairperson of the BJP's Parliamentary Party Board. I want to begin with Veer Sanghavi and your reflections on the speech that we just heard from Modi.
Well, many things, Rahul. The first thing I thought which was very significant was that he spoke...
Just hold it for a moment. I want to see what Murli Manohar Joshi is saying.
किसको?
नरेंद्र भाई को. Parliamentary party during the party in the Lok Sabha, Sri Modi is authorized to nominate the office bearers of the parliamentary party.
I don't know, well, I'll start on the assumption that Dr. Joshi is not going to get a microphone. But I think what we've really seen is an attempt to link himself to the BJP pantheon. Lots and lots of people have been going on about a personal victory, a personality cult. This was Modi's attempt to set the balance right. He said, this is not my victory. This is the victory of generations of BJP leaders and Jan Sangh leaders who worked hard to get us there, which I thought was significant. Mid-60s and a mysterious train assassination. I thought that was interesting too. He talked about his centenary, and it's hard not to think of Rajiv Gandhi's speech in 1984 when he talked about the Nehru centenary, which they went on to celebrate in much the same sort of way. It's almost as though he's indicating that one era of the Nehrus, the Congress tradition, is over, that this is a new tradition, a Jan Sangh BJP tradition. Let's appreciate what that tradition is worth. Let's celebrate the people who created it, and please accept that whatever I am no more than a member of the BJP. There was a reference to calling up Rajnath Singh and reporting to him, to saying that he was no more than a dedicated soldier of the party. An emotional moment when he wept when he talked about the BJP.
Rajnath Singh there reading out the resolution. Now NDA leaders will be invited in one by one. Uddhav Thackeray has just walked in, Prakash Singh Badal. All of them, especially Uddhav Thackeray, doing really well in Maharashtra. And they too would have immense expectations from the new Prime Minister and the government. We could see Madhu Kishwa in our studios get very emotional at that moment when Narendra Modi choked. Nobody really associates emotion with Modi, and most definitely not a public display of emotion. Did you ever think that Narendra Modi would choke up in this fashion in public?
See, those who know Narendra Modi know that he is deeply emotional. I know many instances where seeing somebody's pain, seeing a child in agony or anything of that kind. I mean, when he went to Kutch, for example, the earthquake devastated Kutch, the accounts that I've heard of people on how when he went to celebrate his first Diwali, everybody cried, and so he did. He spoke very little. Now, I think three things that strike me as someone who has heard and translated scores of his speeches from October 7, 2001 onwards, the day he assumed office as Chief Minister. There's a continuity of things. Number one, he promised people, I will never give you cause to feel ashamed of me. And that's what his promise also in Rajkot, from where he fought his first election. Secondly, from day one, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And I'm really appalled that such a man who from day one has uttered this mantra and lived this mantra in every moment of his day has been called a divisive politician. Third, dedicated to the poor. These are the promises he made. In the first speech he delivered on October 10, 2001, after assuming Chief Ministership of Gujarat, similar promises he made, and emphasis on dedication to the poor. But I hope it doesn't mean the poor are here to stay and I will keep working for them. It means there will be no poor in another 10 years. That's what I want to read from his message. Another thing that strikes me is optimism. You know, he became Chief Minister of Gujarat when it was devastated by the earthquake. There was deep pessimism, but he came with similar optimism, saying Gujarat, Garvi Gujarat will lead the world. It will become a role model for the whole world. And I think two things that touch me very deeply. Firstly, he's made old-fashioned patriotism fashionable again. Thank God, because the left made us ashamed of all this vocabulary that was made respectable during freedom movement.
There are two moments.
And because he speaks from the heart, he touches hearts very deeply.
There are two moments that stand out. When he enters Parliament, Veer Sanghvi, he bows down with his forehead touching the feet of steps heading into Parliament. That's a powerful moment at a time when the credibility of Parliament has been destroyed.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What do you make of this? And did you ever think that Narendra Modi would well up in public in the way that he did this afternoon?
I think so. I mean, it's been quite a powerful campaign. It's been a huge victory. He's only human. As Madhu says, I have never quite bought the caricature of him as this iron man who functions without emotion. Somebody who has passion is almost by definition quite emotional. So I wasn't surprised by the emotion. I was surprised though that when he wept, it was when he talked about the BJP as his mother. That was the most emotional point for him. It's very clear that this is a speech by a BJP man about his party.
Shiv Vishwanathan, people had thought that Modi would make this about himself, that he would bring in the cult. Now the cult might still follow, but during the speech he pressed all the right buttons, whether it is on an Advani, whether it is on the pantheon of BJP leaders, whether it's on the Jan Sangh, the RSS. Here's a man who says Sangathan se bada koi nahi hota, and that's the message he's sending out.
See, I don't think he was true to himself. I don't think people wanted him to give an individualistic speech. He didn't. If you notice the gradient, it was brilliant. He began by saying, I'm an outsider. I have never been in this hall. Two, he began by saying that I was born after independence. Third, it's a Pracharak speech. A Pracharak always owns up to his society and his nation state first. So to a certain extent, it's a self located in collectivity, self located in patriotism. I thought he was perfect.
Somewhere there, GVL, was a message. You've been elected. Don't think because you got the ticket that people have chosen you. It's because of where the BJP is right now, because of the wishes of the people. And he also says, work hard. Don't expect anything in return. Setting up people for disappointment, because only a couple of dozen of them will become ministers. The others will have to just work without being given a lal batti.
He was, I think, emphasizing the importance of the organization and the importance of the hard work, generations that have toiled to really bring the party to the position that it is in today. I think no one can deny the humongous contribution of Mr. Modi as the leader, but he's clearly conveying the message that it is the party, and in the party hierarchy I had reported to the party president about a role given to me, and the party has a lot of work to do in the years ahead. This is not a time of celebration and then relax and we have achieved what we wanted, and there are major challenges for the party. I want to break this up
one by one and focus on Narendra Modi's oratory, because Veer Sanghvi, this comes as a direct contrast to Manmohan Singh, who struggled to read from written text. Now you've got a Prime Minister who can draw powerful evocations from past, from present, completely overshadowing anybody in the Congress benches in the opposition.
Absolutely. I think oratory is important because it helps not only convey a message, but it also inspires. And this is a nation that is now so down in the dumps. And his message, which was that this is a vote for hope and let's deliver on that hope, can only really be delivered by an orator. If somebody comes in, reads out in a flat monotone the same message, it has no impact at all. I think oratory is key to what Modi is about, just as in many ways it was key to what Vajpayee is about, and it's the secret of his appeal.
He has some bullet points. I know that because in a couple of the speeches I was sitting right behind him on the dais, so I know that there are some bullet points. But that being said, it is still very difficult to be able to speak the way he does with the flourish that he has, especially when you compare him with Rahul Gandhi, who simply doesn't have the same oratorial capabilities, Shiv Vishwanath.
See, first I think it's
how would you compare him in the pantheon of great speakers in the world politically?
Impressive. I would say A- in terms of the pantheon of great speakers. But I think the comparisons you make with Manmohan Singh and Rahul are a bit unfair.
Why?
Because Modi is high, it's a different level.
But I mean, there is comparison.
I know, there is comparison, but to a certain extent one doesn't think of them today. I mean, Manmohan Singh read his speeches as if he was delivering a seminar at the Delhi School of Economics.
Oh no,
and half
seminars
the people
are not so boring.
No, they were. I can tell you as a member of D school that all of us who slept in the back bench realized that it's the back bench that sustained Delhi school. Okay? So let's not get too excited about it. To a certain extent, there's a monotone. That's a taken for granted. Take it or leave it. With Rahul, there's a kind of illiteracy. This is hard preparation. This is a celebration of language. And 3, it's an enjoyment of politics as a vocation. You won't see that
with Rahul Gandhi. You most definitely don't see Rahul ever enjoy politics. Almost seems as if he's there, he has a task to do dutifully, he's trying to do the best he can. He's not enjoying. What do you make of his oratory and the speech he's just delivered?
You know, Rahul, you noted something very significant, and I'm glad you started by commenting on that, which is when he enters Parliament, he actually bows and touches his forehead to the steps of Parliament. It links to his oft-repeated statements and assurances to people that Sarkar ka ek hi dharm granth hai, Constitution of India.
I'm talking about his oratory. Right?
No, but I'm saying oratory makes sense only if it's not demagoguery, only when you mean what you say and you're living what you did. And I think having, as I said again, gone through hundreds of his speeches, one thing that stands out, he doesn't ever announce anything that he can't deliver, and he doesn't mean it. And that's why when he said Mission 272 plus, I knew it's happening. He doesn't make pompous statements.
You asked about world-class leaders in oratory. I'll give you the example of Tony Blair. I was once chairing a session. Blair made a speech without notes, without anything, and he was brilliant. He had the audience in the palm of his hand. And afterwards, walking out, I said, "How do you do it?" He said, "It's a funny thing to say, but stand-up comedians and politicians have the same quality." And I said, which is an odd thing for a prime minister to say. He said, "If you don't get the audience in the palm of your hand in the first 3 minutes, they will stop listening and they will never take you seriously as a leader." I think Modi has that ability. He gets the audience listening and then he takes them where he wants them to go.
Each time he speaks, GVL, he will make the Congress seem that much more inadequate, especially the current crop of leadership who can't hold a candle to the way he speaks.
You see, without a doubt, he's a great orator. But that oratory only embellishes his overall personality.
Yes.
And to believe that he is what he is because he's a great orator, I think is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
He speaks from his experience, he speaks from his own beliefs, and there has never been any gap between what he says and what he does.
Yes.
And I have seen him speak at many rallies in Gujarat without a sheet of paper, without a line. 12 years after being Chief Minister of the state, you have people running, thousands of people flocking to his rallies to hear him speak. So it's not, okay, there is certainly a great quality of that speech, but it's much more than that. It's magic. No. It's not oratory.
Okay, Shiv Vishwanathan, who was a more powerful orator, Atal Bihari Vajpayee or Narendra Modi?
Oh, no.
But I think there's a difference.
Different styles.
Vajpayee had a certain flowery air to it. You know, when Modi speaks, he sounds like an applied science book. He's very clear that what he says is what he's going to do. The saying and the doing coming together makes for a different kind of speech.
Rich Sangvi, who's more powerful, Vajpayee or Modi?
Well, there's a difference in that almost all the oratory we've heard of Modi has been from a position of strength. Until he became Chief Minister of Gujarat, most people had never heard of him. Almost all the oratory we heard of Vajpayee till he became Prime Minister, and that was very late in his career, was in opposition. So they made very, very different kinds of speeches. Vajpayee's speeches were more attacking. Vajpayee's speeches were more emotional for that reason. They were more full of imagery. They were more full of drama. Modi's speeches are much more matter of fact, and he conveys that message, and as everybody has agreed, in a brilliant fashion.